What's going on, Throne Army? Joe here, and today we're going to be talking about how to use thrown powder in a bunch of different ways to make it cool. This was one of the kind of ideas that was thrown over to me based on the video we did last week, which is all about what we're going to be doing during quarantine. You guys had awesome support on that video, and then also supported our promotion around keeping you guys kind of entertained, something to do by offering 20% off thrown powder and thrown string materials. We're going to keep that going. I'll have info to all of that in the links in the description below as always. But I've made a ton of videos about powder over the years, and I thought it'd be really interesting to kind of talk a little bit more broad stroke about it by showing you guys 5 cool custom heads that we've done in the past for certain releases and breaking down the techniques we've used to achieve those dyes. In hopes that you guys can understand them at kind of a basic level, where then you can use those with other ones to build up to make your very own custom. Let's get into it. So first up, we have the Instinct head. This head is one of my favorites we've ever done. Super clean, but it's got a really cool geometric pattern, which you don't see as much in Lacrosse dyes. So first up, this head started out white. So on the back, you can see Instinct there in white. So we masked that, and then we did the yellow solid to it. And then we did the lion, I guess, like geometrical shape on the inside to mask that yellow, and then we dyed the outside red. But when you look at this, you're like, that's not red, Joe. That's kind of like a darker red, like a brick red, to actually like a maroon. And so we did a slight fading as well in this, but you guys, I think for the most part, understand fading. But really the thing I want to talk about here is how you take a base color of red and then get all of these different tones out of it. There are a few ways to do it, but the simplest way, which we did here, was adding black to the dye. So what I did is I dyed the entire head red, and then I put in about a quarter of a package of black powder into it and started fading the bottom. And what this allowed me to do is just kind of tint that red to be a little bit darker and give it a little bit of a desaturated red. If I wanted it to be a more true maroon, I actually would have used a brown from RIT to try and get more of a richer red. But since I wanted it to be more kind of like dried blood red, because that was kind of the color width we were going for this whole release, we used black. So very simple, just tinting a color to be darker by putting in black, because you're actually changing not the saturation, but the hue of the color, bringing it down. So it won't be as bright when you add the black, but it'll give it that nice darker kind of earthy look to the red, which I think is super successful. So this head really was just a 2-color with the yellow and then the red, and then we tinted it with a little bit of black in that same red. So we didn't dump out the red, make a whole thing of black, and then dip it in. All we did was add the black to the red, and it gives it a kind of a little more sophisticated, a little bit more subtle look to it, which is definitely needed with that crazy inside pattern, which we wanted to be the main feature. So very simple kind of 3-step process, but gives you a really complicated look. Here we have the fire release, and now this is using a very similar technique to we did with the Instinct, but with just a bunch of different colors. So this is actually, I think, 3 or 4 colors to make this all happen. And of course, we're always dyeing from lightest to darkest. So the whole head is getting dipped in this like neon yellow, and then we're gonna dip it to here to get the little tangerine orange, and then to a darker orange, and then into the actual red. I think for these colors inside here, we mixed, I believe, the red and the orange together, which gave us this more tangerine-ish orange, which really kind of sells that entire fire look. And that was, again, the same exact method we did with adding the black to the red on the Instinct head, but this time we just added a little bit of red to orange, got that color, dumped that water, made the red, and then dipped the actual red at the bottom. So you can see very similar technique, but using different colors and different saturations of those colors, you get very different results, as this fade is way more prevalent than the previous one, but they still add a lot to both the dyes. This one's just absolutely filthy, and I love that super bright color at the bottom. Next up, we have the Joker head, which is definitely, I think, my favorite we've ever done. I absolutely love this head. It's just so crazy looking, yet clean. It's got a really badass element to it as well. The Joker design from the Suicide Squad. Not the best acting / movie, but a really good design in terms of the look of everything, in my opinion. This one looks very similar to the Fire one, kind of that multicolor fade, but we actually did it in a totally different method. We have the neon green here, the neon pink, and the neon purple. So on the Fire one, actually I'm gonna show you the side, it's a little bit easier to see. We actually mixed those colors because we didn't offer a color that was in that orange realm that we wanted to. But here what we actually did is faded a marble at the bottom as opposed to doing a straight solid fade. And that allowed to kind of give us a color in between the neon purple and the neon pink, which shows you kind of a different technique. It also kind of hides the fade a little bit more, which I think is cool. Makes it a little bit more like kind of I don't know, like toxic, kind of like ink spilling into it, which gives it kind of a cool narrative, especially for something like the Joker. It allows that neon green at the pop, or the neon green at the top to pop off. Absolutely love it. And then the other thing I want to show you is like the clean side versus the white side. Also changed that fade a little bit more, and just different techniques. I mean, this same thing is exactly what we did for the Instinct on the back, but using it on the side into a fade gives it a totally different look. And I just absolutely love this head. It's just, I mean, it's a little crazy, but it's kind of me. Next up, we have the Bravest from 2019, and what I want to show about this one is two things. First, leaving that white at the bottom really makes your colors pop. The biggest thing is making sure you can keep that clean. Maybe we'll make a video about how the best practices, I guess, on how you keep that super clean. But you also kind of get like a bonus color thrown in there because you don't have to dye. You just got to make sure you get nothing on it, because this is the same white up as here, just with the decals on it. And this uses the same exact color and powder as our first one, the Instinct one, with the same reds and blacks. And hopefully, as you can see, they're very, very different. And there's just two different techniques here. This is just straight red and straight black, and there's no fade between them on the head. We try to get nice, stark lines right there, unlike the other one where we faded it. Also, this one has no mixture in the pot as well. Again, it's just straight red and straight black, as opposed to the Instinct head that we added the black into the red to tint it as it went down the head. But you can see same materials, just red and black powder, but two totally different results. I think that's really fun. And then playing into the white, it's very different than the first three. And finally, we have the Warhawk, which I think is the most beautiful thing we've ever done here. Super crazy. Chris and I designed the die together, but he did most of the heavy hitting on all of the decal work. It's got like Warhawk over here. It's got the plane's number, I believe. It's got how many, it's got a bunch of X's. I don't know if it's correct in how many numbers of the planes that it shot down. Just crazy, crazy detailed. Absolutely love it. Definitely one of the prettiest heads we have ever done, and kind of thoroughly perfect. But the big thing about this is this huge kind of crazy camo die is literally just three colors. It is tan, I believe it is the drab or olive green limited edition we released with the collection, and just black. And all it is three solids with just a bunch of masking on it. So even if you don't think you're gonna be great at, doing the fades or doing the multiple colors together, dipping it in and out or marbling it, this is literally just a bunch of decals thrown on a head, thrown in different colors, and you can get something as gorgeous as this. And kind of the mixture of those is what gives you the different looks of camo, but there really is just three straight colors here. And for instance, like if you wanted to make this drab green, for the most part, you could just take our normal green and probably a half of a bag of gray, and you could kind of gray out the green to get this kind of drab green. I'm not 100% sure of exactly how we did it, but I'm pretty sure that's very similar to what we did to kind of get that thing. So same thing as the Instinct head, taking the red, making it more maroon by adding black. Here we're taking the green and we're making it kind of more olivey drab by adding in some gray. Absolutely gorgeous. And then, of course, we're just going to talk about the pocket because it's amazing and it's here. These are the camo leathers done by Cruise World. I think they were limited to like 20 units. Super gorgeous with all the different string with it as well. And then I did a performance Tradden with kind of this really cool sidewall. Absolutely gorgeous. So just the three color solid with a bunch of decals. And then up here, we just did a punch out, which is definitely probably the hardest thing to do. We do have a video about that. Of course, link in the description below for all of these kind of details, but that's complicated. The rest of this, not too complicated, and get something really, really cool. So really what this kind of builds up to is understanding each these little elements and combining them to make a cool one-off head. And with a little bit of practice and a little bit of time and a whole bunch of patience, you could do this. That was a quick breakdown on 5 different customs we have done in the past and kind of the simple building blocks that we use to make them look so damn cool. And I hope you guys learned something. As always, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. If you guys liked the video, definitely throw the video a like. And in the description below, I will have all the info, how we're continuing the 20% off deal on thrown powder and stringy materials. So you guys are able to get some stuff, practice some of these ideas when you can't be outside playing lacrosse too much. I think it'll be a fun way to spend some time during quarantine and just kind of get weird with it. You got to have an old head laying around that you don't really care about. It's like get some powder, try and dye something cool on it, and learn from your mistakes. Because once you get a knack for it and you really get it down, it's super cool. And like I don't think I'll really ever play with a white head again unless I have to test it or something. Because having a head that's a little bit customized is just so much fun and so rewarding. It's a good time. So that's everything. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the field.